everybody, in this video I'm going to be doing the Elecfreaks Microbit Starter Kit Experiment number 10 motor. Now, of all the experiments in the kit, this is the most complex to hook up, but it's actually really fulfilling once you get it working, so I do recommend that you do it. So going through like we've done on everything else, on the 3-volt line there in column number 1, I've got that red wire going up to the red rail, that runs across to this red wire, down to the bottom red rail, and that shares 3 volts along the bottom. In addition, column number 1, I've got the ground. That runs down to the blue rail, that runs across here, up the black wire, and then shares the ground on the blue rail at the top. I'm going over to pin number 0, which is column number 2. I've got a jumper cable that's running over to column number 15. Below it in column number 15, I have a 100 ohm resistor, and that resistor runs from column number 15 over to column number 18. Then in column number 18, if I tilt this back, I still have my NPN transistor, so the leg of the transistor and the first pin there line up in column 18. In column 19, I've got something here we haven't used before called a diode. A diode is a little device, or a component, I should say, that allows current to only flow in one direction, and the current always flows towards the line. So if you look at that carefully, there's a little line on one side. You need that line on your right-hand side. That diode is running from pin number 19 over to pin number 22. And then below it here, I've got a jumper cable, a ground jumper cable, running from the blue rail to pin number 20. So it's going to be resistor, diode, ground cable in that order. The other side of the diode is on number 22, and I have a jumper cable running from the 3-volt rail over to column 22 there. Then on the far side here, I've got that little push button. I've got that push button, left leg in 26, 27, 28. In column 27, I've got a jumper cable running from pin 1, which is column 3, over to column number 27. Then in column 28, I've got another ground wire running from the blue rail to the right-hand leg of the red push button. In addition, you're going to need the motor. I found it was best to use the alligator clips to hook it up to the backside here so they don't fall out, and I've done the same thing here. The one thing to be careful is make sure that the tips don't accidentally touch together because you can short circuit if that happens. I'm looking at the manual. The ground cable for this goes right below the transistor right here, actually right here in column number 19. So in column number 19, you'll need to have one pin below the diode, I should say, and that's going to run for your ground cable. Then for the positive cable, that can fit anywhere in the red rail. So they've got theirs roughly about here. So I'm going to put mine there as well. And if everything goes well, you've got this motor here. And when I press the button, it turns on. When I turn it off, it turns off. And if the air is not blowing in the right direction, so right now when I've got mine down, it's blowing air out towards my hand, which that's what I want. But if I wanted air to blow back, I could reverse the black and red wires here. And that changes the direction that the fan actually blows. All right, so let's go over to MakeCode and see how we get the code to run our fan. All right, here I am in MakeCode. One thing I want to note before I start putting the code down, I'd mentioned in an earlier video that you might want to use the motor on an external battery pack. I've checked and this motor is low enough current that it's perfectly safe to use with your laptop, so you shouldn't have anything to worry about. In fact, the demo I just demonstrated was running on my laptop just fine. So on start, we're going to have a digital write pin 0 to 1 and also a set pull pin 1 to up. So first I'm going to go down to pins, which is under advanced. I'm going to go up to my digital write pin 0. I'm going to drop that in my start loop, and I'm going to set that to A1. Then I'm going to have to go down to more, and this is where I set the pull pin. That's going to drop up here. And once again, that's going to be pull pin 1, and that's going to be set to up. And that pin 1, that's going to be the red button. Pin 0 is part of what we use to control the transistor and the motor itself. On the forever loop, I'm going to need an if-else. That's under logic, the second one down, if-else. Notice this one has the hexagon shape, so that's under my logic. And we want to find the one that has the equal sign, which is right here. I'm going to drop that in there. On the left-hand side, we're doing a digital read pin 1. So that's under pins. We're going up here to a digital read, and I'm going to swap that out for a pin 1. And then that's going to be equal to 0, so all that looks good. And then under that, we're going to have a digital write pin 0 to 1. So I'm going to go down to pins. We're going to go up here to a digital write. We're going to switch that over to pin 0, which is already there, and switch that to a 1. So that means it's going to turn on the motor and send voltage to the motor through the transistor. And after that, we're going to add another digital write. That's going to also be pin 0, and we're going to set that to 0. So that means if the button is not depressed, it's not going to send any voltage over to the motor. I can then download that to my little microbit, and I should be able to test out my motor and see if it works. Good luck on your motor activity.